Welcome to Impact Signals, Social Impact at the Scale of AI. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Sarah.
It's Tuesday, August 25, 2026, episode 112. Today, the plumbing under social impact work is where the news is. A software grant that quietly expired and took 171,000 small nonprofits files with it, 6 Massachusetts communities about to route 79,500 non-emergency calls a year to an AI, and a master's student's offline assistant already in the hands of gender-based violence responders. We start in the United States, where Microsoft has retired the donated Office licenses that roughly 400,000 small organizations had been running on since 2013. About 171,000 of them lost the files stored on those licenses.
What makes this significant is what was sitting on them. File storage, email and case records for organizations that run on donated software because they cannot buy it. The storage was a donation, and the terms were the donors to change.
Nitish Pawar reported it in Slate on August 18 with follow-on coverage from Cybernews and the nonprofit Times on August 24. The phase-out began in July 2025. The deletions landed in June 2026 at a reported rate of roughly 33,000 organizations rolling off per month. One organization put its loss at 500 gigabytes.
The disputed fact is the notice. Microsoft says it began telling nonprofit customers in spring 2025 and strongly advised them to transition before their renewal dates. Chicopee, a nonprofit venture firm, says its files were deleted months before the October 2026 access date Microsoft had confirmed to it in writing. The dates do not line up.
That written confirmation is the documentary evidence in this story. The operational damage landed on the organizations least likely to have anyone on staff reading vendor mail: Child Health and Disability Services providers, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit, a Minnesota County Historical Society.
Microsoft's stated reason is that the grants were retired to streamline its grant offerings. What changed for the sector is underneath that. File storage, email and case records for hundreds of thousands of small organizations sit on donated terms a single vendor can end, and the deletions arrived before many recipients understood the grant had. That's the governance line.
Moving to Western Massachusetts, Westcomm Regional Dispatch, which covers Longmeadow, East Longmeadow, Chicopee, Monson, Ware, and the Hampden County Sheriff's Department, will begin using an AI system from Prepared, an Axon company, to answer non-emergency business line calls.
What makes this significant is the volume split. As of July 1, the center had taken about 30,300 emergency, 911 calls against 79,500 non-emergency calls. 2/3 of this center's call volume lives on the line that is not 911. Medical emergencies and anything needing immediate intervention stay with human dispatchers.
GovTech reported the deployment on August 24, and WBUR covered the wider move to AI in emergency call centers a week before that. Deputy Director Anthony Massoya put the standard plainly: "We really want to make this as close to perfect as possible because you get one shot."
The downstream problem is evidentiary. Katie Naples Mitchell of the ACLU of Massachusetts, the American Civil Liberties Union, points out that 911 calls routinely become evidence in criminal cases, and a machine-made transcript can carry errors into that record. The ACLU wants prosecutors to disclose when a transcript was machine-made. Massachusetts attaches no such obligation today, and go live is expected within about 2 months.
Story 3, the University of Hertfordshire in England. Ellie Mulaha, 35, who grew up in Kenya and is studying for a master's in computer science with artificial intelligence, has built an offline first assistant that answers frontline questions about gender-based violence response. Aid workers are piloting it in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza.
2 design decisions are doing the work here. It answers from approved humanitarian guidance documents rather than open web text, and it runs without a network. Gender-based violence case work happens where connectivity is intermittent, and where sending case details to a cloud service is itself a protection risk.
Your Harlow reported it on August 24. Most humanitarian AI assistants in this space assume a network and a hosted model. This one assumes neither, which is why the pilots are running at field sites rather than headquarters.
For practitioners looking at the same problem, the replicable part is the grounding. The sector's own approved guidance as the source, instead of a general model's recall. It is a student project in field pilots, and there are no published outcomes yet.
Moving to Indonesia. On Monday, August 24, UNICEF Indonesia, the Water Resilience Coalition, the National Development Planning Ministry, subnational governments, and the CEO Water Mandate launched a climate-resilient water and sanitation program in the Sidaram watershed in West Java.
What makes this significant is the scope they picked. 2 climate-vulnerable districts and 30 villages, a first phase running 2026 to 2028 on a river that is one of the most polluted major waterways in the world and the water supply for a large share of West Java. That is a bounded, checkable first phase.
The initial contribution is $1 million US from Gap Inc. and Halon. Tempo reported the launch, and UNICEF Indonesia carries the program page. The framing is climate-resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene service delivery rather than emergency response.
For practitioners in water and sanitation, the structure is the notable part. The corporate money arrives through the CEO Water Mandate, which ties 2 consumer companies' water stewardship commitments to a specific government planning process. Phase 1 runs through 2028, and those 30 villages are the unit anyone can check it against.
Pivoting to Croatia, where the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Green Transition has expanded the National Early Fire Detection Network by 25 locations, taking it from 50 monitoring cameras to 75. The new sites concentrate on protected areas, including national parks and nature parks.
What makes this significant is the placement. The network grew by half in one procurement, and the ministry put the new cameras in protected areas rather than along the populated coastline after a summer of repeated coastal fires. That is where it now thinks its blind spots are.
The cameras run 24 hours a day year-round, pairing AI smoke and flame detection with meteorological data to estimate how a fire is likely to develop and spread, and the images feed county fire monitoring centers. Croatia Week reported the expansion, which is financed through the Competitiveness and Cohesion Program 2021 to 2027.
One number is missing here. Croatia has published camera counts, not detection rates or false alarm rates, so there is nothing public yet to judge the deployment against.
On the disaster watch, USGS, the United States Geological Survey, logged a magnitude 6.7 earthquake northwest of Aniso, Peru on August 20, the largest event in the window, and a shallow magnitude 5.8 near Toride, Japan, in a densely populated area close to Tokyo. GDAX, the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System, carries an orange earthquake alert for Afghanistan this morning. A magnitude 4.9 with an estimated 7.5 million people within 100 kilometers. Orange on exposure, not magnitude. And GDAX is still updating a flood in China that began on July 31. 2 deaths, 319,550 people displaced.
Afghanistan is the exposure case today's offline first assistant was built for. 7.5 million people inside 100 kilometers, in a response where connectivity is intermittent and a hosted tool simply stops answering. The China flood has been updating since July 31, which is the other field condition. The response outlasts the emergency.
On the calendar, the India AI Impact Summit is running this week in New Delhi, where a session on governing safe and responsible AI within digital public infrastructure convened on August 22. And the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center said on August 24 that it will establish a sub-center in Nepal to strengthen disaster resilience.
For practitioners tracking New Delhi, the Digital Public Infrastructure session is the one that matters to this audience. That is where the rules for AI inside public service delivery get drafted, and it convened 3 days ago rather than being promised for a future summit.
For funding, the WFP Innovation Accelerator from the World Food Program has applications open for the Adaptation Fund Climate Innovation Accelerator 2027 cohort. The deadline is September 6, 2026. This cohort covers Latin America and the Caribbean, specifically El Salvador, the Dominican Republic, and Peru. 10 to 12 are selected in November, with an innovation bootcamp in January 2027.
The geography is the filter here. The cohort is scoped to those 3 countries, so eligibility settles before anything else does, and September 6 leaves under 2 weeks from today.
The through line today is plumbing. A donated license, a non-emergency phone line, an offline document store, a watershed phase, a camera network. None of it is an announcement, and all of it is what the work actually runs on.
Every one of those 5 stories turns on terms someone else set. The vendor's grant policy, the state's disclosure rules, the network's availability, the funder's phase dates, the procurement's reporting. Those terms are fixed before the deployment starts, and they decide what it can do.
That's Impact Signals for Tuesday, August 25, 2026. If this briefing is useful, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out at impactsignals.ai and share it with someone working in the field.
Stay ready.